Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillahi amma ba'du. In our previous lessons in this series that we've been dealing with, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the prophet of mercy, the prophet of rahmah. Today we're going to deal with a category of people from the many categories of our community, showing that he was a rahmah. Last week we dealt with the elders, and I hope you brothers and sisters took that to heart, and the way you deal with and the way you approach the elderly from the Muslim community and the non-Muslim community as well is in a way that's reflective of what the Prophet called to and what he brought, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Today, we're going to deal with the category of people that was present during his time, and they're present during our time as well. Prophet Muhammad was a rahmah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for the people who had special needs. The people who had special needs. In Arabic, it's called ذو احتياج الخاصة. Those people who have special needs. In the days of al-Jahiliyyah, before al-Islam, if a person was born with some kind of physical handicap or problem, that person was frowned upon. He was looked at as being nothing. He or she they were left to be in need. They were left to be hungry. They were ostracized and isolated. That's the way of the people of Jahiliyyah. If you're an individual, or you have a baby or a loved one who they've been born in a particular way where they're not complete, and you're embarrassed when you take them to the doctors, or you take them to the GP, or you take them for their checkup. You're embarrassed for people to see them. You are looking at them and dealing with them like the people of Al-Jahiliyyah dealt with the handicap. So how is it that Allah Azza wa Jal, and how is it that the Prophet ﷺ would not have mercy towards the handicap when Allah said about himself, Allahu latifum bi'ibadihi. Allah is latif towards his servants. He's gentle, he's kind. Allah said about himself in the Quran, وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الْوَدُودُ. Allah is al-Wadud. From his names is that he's loving. He's a God, an ilah, who loves. He is ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. He is ar-Ra'uf ar-Rahim. He is gentle and he is kind. All of those are from the characteristics of Allah Azza wa Jal and all of his servants and all of his creation. So what about those people who have special needs? Now, concerning this issue about the people who have special needs during the time of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and what we should be exemplifying during our time, let me first make this point clear. If a person is handicapped in al-Islam, he can't speak, he can't see, he can't walk, something's wrong with them. They're not really handicapped in the sight of Allah or in the religion. The real handicap in this religion is what Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in the Quran when he said, فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارِ وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبَ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. Verily, it's not their eyes that are blind, but it's the hearts that are in their chests that are blind. A person may not have the ability to see, and the people call him handicapped. But in reality, he can see the reality of the dunya. He makes salah, he believes in Allah, he's a decent person, and he can see. He's not really handicapped in Islam. The real handicapped one is the one who has been blessed with limbs, but he uses them the wrong way. Many ayat of the Quran go to show us that. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى قَالَ رَبِّي لِمَا حَشَرْتَنِي أَعْمَى وَقَدْ كُنْتُ بَصِيرًا قَالَ كَذَلِكَ أَتَتْكَ آيَاتُنَا فَنَسِيتَهَا وَكَذَلِكَ الْيَوْمَ تُنْسَى. Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah said, whoever turns away from our dhikr in this dunya, we're going to raise him up blind. And then when we raise him up, he's going to say, oh my Lord, why did you raise me up blind when I used to have the ability to see? Allah will say to him, verily my signs came to you while you were in that condition and you forgot about them. So today you're going to be the one who's going to be forgotten. So he had the ability to see, he had the ability to hear, he had the ability to articulate and to reflect, but he didn't use it for the reasons why Allah Azza wa Jal created him for and because of those issues. So as a result of that, the true handicapped one is the one who come Yawm al-Qiyamah and he didn't benefit from what Allah gave him in the way of his limbs. He didn't pray, didn't fast. Allah mentioned about the limbs of the people, وَالْيَوْمَ نَخْتَمُ عَلَى أَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَتُكَلِّمُنَا أَيْدِيهِمْ وَتَشْهَدُ أَرْجُلُهُمْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. Yawm al-Qiyamah, their tongues are going to be closed. Their mouths are going to be closed. They won't be able to talk. But instead, their hands are going to bear witness against them, and their legs are going to bear witness against them, and it's going to tell everything that they used to do. The person is going to complain to his limbs and say, hey, why are you telling on me? Why are you grassing me out? Why are you telling the situation? Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran that his limbs are going to say, أَنْتَقَنَا الَّذِي أَنْتَقَ كُلَّ الشَّيْء. On this day, the one who gave everything the ability to speak has given us the ability to speak. So we have to understand that, guys. You have to understand that. Listen, the real handicapped person in Islam is not the one who doesn't have eyes in this dunya and he can't see. He can't walk, can't use his hands. His fingers are deformed and he can't use his hands. That's not the handicapped one. The handicapped one is the one that Allah blessed him with all of these things, with an intellect. But Allah Ta'ala mentioned, لَهُمْ قَلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ بِهَا وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ بِهَا وَلَهُمْ آذَانٌ لَا يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا هُمْ كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ. They have eyes, they can't see with them. They have ears, they can't hear with them. They have hearts, they can't reflect with them. They are like the animals, but instead they are worse than the animals. Worse than the animals, because they don't acknowledge and they don't recognize that all of these limbs, they should be used for the purpose of praising Allah and worshiping Allah. So the real handicapped person is not the one who has a handicap the way we look at it, but it's the one who Allah has given him something, but he doesn't do it the correct way. The other thing concerning the handicap, look at the rahmah of Allah towards the people who have special needs. So I don't like calling them handicapped. You know, it's not about being politically correct. You shouldn't call a person a dwarf or a midget. These are not terms and the usage of words to describe the reality of people. It's offensive. You shouldn't call them those things. These people are not really handicapped. Allah Azza wa Jal, his Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam explained something to us, ikhwani, another point concerning the people with special needs. In an authentic hadith that's been collected by Al-Imam al-Tirmidhi on the authority of Abdullah, Jabir bin Abdullah, may Allah be pleased with him, قال صلى الله عليه وسلم يود أهل العافية يوم القيامة حين يعطى أهل البلاء الثواب لو أن جلودهم كانت قردت في الدنيا بالمقاريد. In the authentic hadith, the Nabi said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the people who have been given afiyah, people who have good health, Yawm al-Qiyamah, they're going to hope and they're going to wish. When they see the reward that Allah gave to the people with special needs, the people who have patience with how Allah created them, they were patient with that. They're going to get some special rewards. The people who have good health, when they see that, Yawm al-Qiyamah, they're going to wish that their skin and their limbs were deformed as a result of the reward that those people will receive. So if a person has a child who has a special need, handicap, he himself is handicapped, all you have to do is be patient. Be patient. This dunya is going to be over quicker than you realize it. It's going to be over quick. And the one who has sabr, as the Nabi said, من فقد حبيبتيه ثم صبر فله الجنة. Anyone who loses his two eyes, he loses his eyesight, and he's patient, he'll get the Jannah. He's guaranteed to go to Jannah. Now, it's not easy living life without your eyesight. Not easy. That's why the Nabi called your eyes your habibatain, the two beloved. The quality of your life is going to be affected if you can't see, if you can't hear, if you can't walk. The quality of your life will be affected. But if you're looking at it the right way, all I have to do is be patient. And the people around me just keep reminding me to be patient. Yawm al-Qiyamah, the people who have special needs are going to be a group of people who other people will be jealous of their situation. The Nabi, he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Nabi of al-Rahmah, concerning the people who have special needs. قال صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم لا يزال البلاء بالمؤمن والمؤمنة في نفسه وولده وماله حتى يلقى الله وما عليه خطيئة. He said that a believing man and a believing woman, either one of them, they will not cease to have fitan, bala, trials and tribulations. They keep having problems. Handicap, whatever. As long as these things happen to them and it affect their health, it affect their children, or it affect anything, affect their health, their children, or their money, and they're patient, they'll meet Allah Azza wa Jal and they won't have any sins. That's the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling the people who are responsible for people with special needs, or telling the people who've been afflicted with special needs, be patient. Have iman billah. Don't waste a moment saying, why me? Woe is me. Woe is me. Because of that situation, Allah Azza wa Jal chose to put them in that case. Allah is going to also choose what daraja of al-Jannah those individuals will be in. That's the rahmah of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam concerning those issues. Another point. In the book of Allah, the Quran, and in the authentic Sunnah, but in the book of Allah, there are people from the righteous who has special needs. And those people are better than everybody here. Everybody here. So having a special need or handicap doesn't automatically, it's not a death sentence for a person. From the best servants of Allah were those people who had special needs. Like Musa. Musa had a handicap. In Surah Taha, Moses, before going to Fir'aun, part of his dua is that he said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَحْلُلْ أُقْتَةً فِي لِسَانِي يَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي. Oh my Lord, correct the impediment that's in my speech so that they can understand what I'm about to say. Some of the people give the tafsir of the Quran. They said that Musa, he had a tremendous lisp that came as a result of taking something that messed up his tongue. And one of the characteristics of the prophets and the messengers is that they're articulate. You're not going to find a prophet or a messenger coming to their people and he's speaking the language of the street. He's going to speak in an articulate way so that everyone will understand what he's saying. So that the person won't come Yawm al-Qiyamah and the person says, Ya Allah, I didn't understand what this guy was saying. I didn't understand what this man was saying. So all of the prophets and the messengers, one of their characteristics is that they were articulate. Allah, he rectified Musa's situation because Musa made a dua. Oh Allah, rectify the impediment that I have in my speech. And Musa is one of the 5 main messengers. Why would Allah mention that in the Quran? You guys, Ummatul Islam. I'm asking you, people who look at the Quran and read it, not just put it on the shelf and just leave it there and just like it's going to protect the house. But why would Allah mention this aspect of the life of Musa? One of the benefits is to tell you that he had an impediment. He had a handicap, a special need. Allah rectified it. Rectified it. It didn't hold him back. It wasn't a reason or a cause for him to be faint-hearted and weak. He made dua and Allah rectified it. Another issue is if Musa had a lisp or a problem in articulating himself, what about the person who stutters? And we're going to come to that. If you guys go to the internet on the YouTube and you put on the internet and YouTube, just put in boy stuttering. It's a black kid who comes up and he did a program here in the UK. He called some people that he needs something from the NHS. And he was trying to say his name. The lady on the other end was saying, what's your name? The boy couldn't even say his name. Now, the one who has no rahmah and the one who doesn't fear Allah, when you see it, you'll laugh. You'll laugh at him. You'll find it funny and you'll crack up about it. Terrible situation to be going through life like that. The lady was saying, what's your name? And he just couldn't get it out. And that's how he was stuttering. That was his impediment. Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, can you imagine, Ya Abdullah? If you went through life, that's what Allah did to you. That was your trial. People laughed at you. And people looked at you. Psychologically, what's going on in that person's mind? He knows what he's wants to say, but in his brain, it's just not working with his lip, with his tongue. Musa, he had one of those types of impediments. Another person of the Quran who had an impediment, special need, was the Nabi and the father of Bani Israel, Yaqub. He is the father of all of those prophets and messengers who came from Bani Israel. In the long story, when the children, his sons, came and told them, okay, Yusuf is gone, and now Binyamin is gone, Qala ya asafa ala Yusuf. He said, oh, I'm so sad at what has happened to Yusuf. وَبِيَدَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ بِالْحُزْنِ وَهُوَ كَذِيمٌ. He was so sad and he cried so much over the sorrow of losing his son that he became blind. Yaqub became blind, couldn't see anymore. So there was a part of his life, again, for the Muslims who read the Quran and reflect, not just put the book up there. Why would Allah tell us about Yaqub losing his sight? And then that sight being brought back to him, bi-idhnillah, showing us Allah gives and Allah takes away. Allah can take it away and Allah can give it. Allah can give it and he can take it away. If you have a problem, there was someone better than you with the same problem. Don't give up. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. Don't let these people tell you, you can't do this, you can't walk, you can't speak, you can't. Don't let people do that. You have to be realistic, but you have to look at the book of Allah Azza wa Jalla at these examples, and we have to take note from this. So, this is the deen of Allah Azza wa Jalla addressing the issue of handicaps. Look at the companions of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of them, his name was Abdullah ibn Maktoum. He was blind, couldn't see. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was giving dawah to a non-Muslim one day, and this blind man came to tell the Nabi, I need to learn something. Tell me about this, tell me about that. He was a Muslim. The Nabi looked at him and frowned and said, not now. And he kept trying to talk to the one who had money. Allah revealed the whole surah. Abasa wa tawalla in ja'ahu a'ma ma yudrika la'allahu yazakka aw tanfa'ahu dhikra wa amma man istaghna fa anta lahu tasadda. That whole surah was revealed. He frowned and he turned away. That man, Abdullah ibn Maktoum, was better than 1,000 of those people who were arrogant and so forth and so on. There was another companion. Many of them, many. One, his name is Amr ibn Jumuh. He was a'raj. One of his legs was messed up, so he used to limp. A'raj, like al-mi'raj. Al-mi'raj means to elevate, to ascend. Al-isra wal-mi'raj. The person who walks like that with a limp, it is al-i'raj. He is a'raj. He didn't have to go to make jihad because from the rahmah of Islam on certain people, if you're sick, if you're lame, if you are majnoon, if you have some issues, he doesn't have to make jihad. He has sons, many sons who were fighting in jihad. The real jihad of Islam during that time. The real jihad that the Prophet supervised. The scholar was overseeing it. It was a right that the Muslims had to be protecting themselves and so forth and so on. And that man had a number of sons who were participating in it. But he wanted to make the jihad anyway. His son said, you don't have to do it. We don't have to do it. If one of us dies and gets killed, shahada, we'll have the ability to make intercession for 70 people from our family. Surely you're going to be from those people, so don't worry about it. He wasn't having that. So he went to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he complained, my children are trying to prevent me from participating in the jihad. The Nabi said, you don't have to have jihad. He said, but I heard you, Ya Rasulullah, telling the people about what was in Jannah and all of this and all that and that. And the man was eating some dates. He said, I heard you describing what was in Jannah. He said, you mean to tell me between me and going to that Jannah, between me and Jannah, are these few dates? The Nabi said, yes. He said, bakhan, innaha la hayatun tawila. It's a long time for me to sit here and eat all these dates. For me to sit and finish these dates, he threw him down and he ran to the people with his i'raj. Nobody was with him. Just ran to the people, those kuffar. And they did him in. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, verily I see him in Al-Jannah walking with his good leg. Walking with his good leg. That man had a handicap. The companions were just like us. Not only that, there was a black lady. The hadith described her as imra'atun soda, a black lady. She used to be possessed. Possession. She used to be possessed. A companion, possessed. She said, Ya Rasulullah, I get possessed and I start having these fits and I take my clothes off. I become naked. So make dua to Allah to make it stop. The Nabi told the lady sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I'll make dua for you and I'll give you the dua to stop being afflicted with it, but if you're patient, you'll go to Jannah. The lady said, okay, then at least I'm going to be patient, but make dua to Allah that I don't take my clothes off. Because as a believing woman, even in the condition of not being responsible, she didn't want to show her beauty. The believing woman, she doesn't want anybody to see the beauty that Allah has blessed her with. Her limbs that Allah blessed her with. Some women wish they had the ability to have some limbs, handicapped people. They wish they had arms or legs to cover them up with hijab. They wish. Some people, Allah gave them limbs and the lady doesn't care. She allows any and everybody, here, share with me, look at what I look like. So that lady had the handicap of being possessed. There were people who were majnoon people during the time of the Nabi. From the rahmah of the Nabi is that he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, rufi al-qalamu an thalath, an al-majnoon hatta yafiq. The pen has been raised up off of 3 people. They're not responsible. The pen is raised off of the majnoon. If he does something crazy while he's in a crazy state, he's not held accountable. That's rahmah. That's rahmah. But look at this crazy person during the time of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam radiyallahu anhum. A companion, his name is Kharija ibn Salt. May Allah be pleased with him. He said he came to a group of people and they had a madman, Majnoon, who they tied him up with iron chains. And they said to Kharija, we heard that this companion of yours, meaning Prophet Muhammad, has come with something that is a cure, that he reads. Can you read on this man? He was referring to the ayat of the Quran in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. We revealed this Quran and it is a shifa and a rahmah. We heard that he has something that is a shifa. Can you read over this Majnun man that we have to tie him up? And if you do read and make him well, we're going to give you 100 sheep. Kharija radiallahu anhu said, yes, I got something. He went to him and he read Surah Al-Fatiha, the greatest surah of the Quran. Surah Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'bud wa iyaka nasta'een. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen. Dua. He read that on the man And lo and behold, the man became okay. Now there are some people, Ya Abdullah, Amatullah, Bilal, Amina, there are some people who will laugh at you for believing that, who put you down and try to make you feel like something's wrong with you. And yet that same person will sit on the TV and watch that nonsense and believe that nonsense. He'll cry, he'll feel strong, he'll feel sad, he'll feel weak, he'll feel hopeful off of some stuff that was put together in Hollywood. Hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, a Muslim, hadith telling about the virtues of the Quran will make you feel like something's wrong with you. Hey boy, close your mouth when you yawn like that. He will make you, or try to make you feel like that. Try to make you feel like that. Now the one who accepts that, there's something wrong with that equation. If anything, you have to be the one who says to that individual, no, you have the problem for believing what Hollywood and Bollywood and Nollywood and the rest of those people. The newspaper, you have the problem for believing all that nonsense. The man became well, bi-idhnillah, by Allah's permission. And he was majnoon. And there were a number of people who were like that during the time of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because again, they're human beings just like us. Prophet Muhammad, a human being just like us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His companions, human beings just like us, radiyallahu anhum. We have our handicap, they have their handicap. We have the people who have special needs, they have special needs. Radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. Now, we want to ask the question, what is the haqq that these people have upon us? Like the shuyukh, the elderly, they have rights over us. Those people with special needs, what are some of their rights? They have many rights, many rights. From the rights that they have is that they have the right to be offered medical treatment. That's their right. Civilized societies take care of people with special needs. Not like the people of Jahiliyyah. They have a right given to them by Allah to make the quality of their life as well as possible. You may have a child or know a relative who they are deformed, they have brain damage, and they just sit there and their eyes go this way and their mouth is open and saliva is coming out. Instead of leaving them in the house to just continue to become contorted in their body, taking them out, taking them to school, don't be of the people, the backward Muslims who just say they're not going to learn if they go to school. They have the right. Only Allah knows what they're feeling when they go out and they mix with other children in that type of environment. Only Allah knows why they have to sit home and do nothing. They have the right that you do physio on them. If you leave them like that, their limbs will continue to become contorted and twisted. So the people in the hospital want to tell you, you have to work them out. Man, but it's not easy. It's not easy having a child who's handicapped or a relative who's it is not easy. Taking them to the bathroom and to the toilet and grooming them. It's not easy. They have that right. That's from their rights. There was a companion during the time of the Nabi. His kunya was Abu Lahm. Abu Lahm. He said, I used to do ruqya on crazy people in Jahiliyyah. People majnoon. The Nabi told me, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, show me your ruqya. Show me your ruqya. He said, I started telling the Nabi what I used to do for ruqya. The Nabi said, continue to do this and this and this, and leave off that and that and that. Leave off those things that you're saying that shirk. Leave off those things that are not acceptable. So the Nabi, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the leader of the Islamic State, the example for the Muslims, he said what? Let's facilitate a situation where people with special needs, they have the opportunity to be given those things that medically are going to make their lives as easy as possible. Giving them access. Things we take for granted. Just access. To be able to get from point A to point B. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. They have that right. In the masjid. I'm not talking about the old cultural masjids. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the masjids that are thinking ahead of the curve. There are old people, there are handicapped people, They want to use the toilet. They want to make wudu. They need different things in the facility. Give them access. In Green Lane Masjid, I'm proud. I'm happy. Proud for lack of for a better term. I'm happy to be part of a masjid where we have a guy who gets up there and does sign language for people who are deaf. For people who are deaf. And then the shayateen of the ins, shayateen, they get involved and they want to sabotage the program. How many masjids can the deaf people go to try to figure out what the khutbah is saying? They're not exempt from Friday khutbah as such. They're not exempt. So they have the haqq and they have the right to have a tadawi, to get the dawa. Also from their huquq, ikhwani, is that they have the right to work and to be normal people who are in the society. It's not permissible to discriminate against them in our religion. A lot of times, look at us, look at Bani Adam. As I was telling you guys last time, sometimes old people are grumpy. We have to be patient with old people because some of them are just mean and grumpy. We have to look for excuses for them because one of the reasons why old people are grumpy and mean, some of them, is because in their lives they've seen a lot of madness, Things that were done to them, things that they saw from Bani Adam. I mean, just to live in this life for 70, 80 years and to keep your sanity is a ni'mah from Allah. Because the old person is going to see a lot. Look at us, look at the people today. Everyone in this place, for the most part, we are normal people. For the most part, we're normal people. But you'll find those of us who are racist towards other people. We'll find those of us who look down at other people. There's nothing wrong with him, but we look at him like this. I'm better than you, and his color, my color. What do you think if someone comes inside of the equation in the picture and he's in a wheelchair? His arm is cut off. He has some growth or disfigurement in his face. People automatically look at him, and because people are so messed up and they want to be validated, they want to appear like they're better than everyone, it's something inside of human beings that some of them can't even help to feel and think, I'm better than him. And he discriminates against those who have handicap, special needs. La wallahi. No, they have a right to have a job. That companion that I told you about, Abdullah ibn Maktoum, the blind man, he was the mu'adhin for the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For Fajr prayer, the tahajjud, qiyamul layl, he used to make the adhan. Before Fajr, he would say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, Hayya al-salah, Hayya al-salah, Hayya al-falah, Hayya al-falah. He used to say, As-salatu khayru min an-nawm. As-salatu khayru min an-nawm. In that adhan only. And then after that, when it was time for Fajr, Bilal would do the other adhan. The mu'adhin is an important job in Islam. He couldn't see. But the mu'adhin, he has to be ameen. He can't even see. He doesn't know when the sun comes up. And his job is a job of responsibility to call the adhan. To call the adhan. And the Nabi went a step further, showing us something. This man, Abdullah ibn Maktoum, the Nabi left Al-Madinah and he went to make jihad. He left this man as the Khalifa in Al-Madinah. Not once, but 2 times. The Nabi left and he said, you're the Khalifa. You're responsible for the Muslims until I get back. And he left. And he went and fought. Twice that happened. And then the people of the madhab, like the Hanafi madhab, they come, and this is not having a go at any madhab, because all of the madhab, they have what's good in it and they have problems. This is a problem of a position in the madhab, Hanafi madhab. They say the imam, he has to be a complete person. He can't have a cut off foot. He can't be blind. What do you mean he can't be blind? There were companions who were blind and they led the people in the salah. Like Utban ibn Malik. He was blind. Utban ibn Malik radiallahu anhu was blind. And he was responsible for leaving the people in the salah. This man, Abdullah ibn Maktoum, was the Muslim ruler, and he was responsible for the Muslims, and he couldn't see. So if they have the ability to do the job, they shouldn't be discriminated. That's our religion. We don't need kuffar to come and tell us. We don't need non-Muslims to come and tell us about the rights of the handicap. We'll say, okay, you people are talking about the rights of the handicap. That's a good thing. That's something that is already in our religion. Don't come and tell us as if you're going to reveal this to us. No. Our Nabi and our Rasul Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam addressed this issue over 1400 years ago. 1400 years ago. From their huquq, ikhwani, from their rights, is that we should not laugh at them. We shouldn't have what's known as sukhriya. Sukhriya is to ridicule them. Verses in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la yaskhar qawmin min qawm, asa an yakuna khayran minhum. Oh, you believe, don't allow some of you to ridicule others. It may be that they are better than them. That guy who I told you was stuttering. When you hear it, you say, oh, look at that guy, it's funny, it's a joke, look at that guy. Allah said, don't do that. Don't do that. To do that is to mock an ayat of Allah. Allah Ta'ala creates what He wants to create, how He wants to create. He said in the Quran, subhanahu wa ta'ala, mini ayat, huwa alladhi khalaqakum min da'fin thumma ja'ala min ba'di da'fin quwwatan thumma ja'ala min ba'di quwwatan da'fin wa shaybatan yakhlaqu ma yasha wa huwa al-alimul qadir. Allah is the one who created you when you were weak, when you were babies. And then from that weakness, He made you strong, the way you are right now. And then He returned you back to being weak and you became old. He creates whatever He wants to create. In another ayat of the Quran, He said He's the one who gives people what He chooses. Some people give them daughters, some people give them sons, some people give them mix, and other He keeps them barren. He allowed you to see, didn't allow that one to see. 20/20 vision, that's less than 20/20 vision. That one is blind in the right eye, that's blind in both eyes. That one can speak, and the other one, he can't speak. That one is a leper, and that one over here, he's strong in his body, and so forth and so on. So it's not permissible, ikhwani, to talk about these people and to have a sukhriya, to ridicule them in any shape, form, or fashion. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, وَلَا تَنَابَزُوا بِالْأَلْقَابِ بِئْسَ الْإِسْمُ الْفُسُوقِ بَعْدِ الْإِيمَانِ. Don't use bad and offensive names to describe each other. It is a terrible crime in the sight of Allah that you would do that. The man, he uses a crutch, he has a bad leg, we call him crip. Crip. C-R-I-P. Crip. That's what we used to say growing up. We would call a guy crip. Short for cripple. Allah. It's not permissible in the deen of Allah. So, ikhwani, the rahmah of the Nabi, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, as we began, it touched every single aspect of our society today, because everybody who's here today, they were there during the time of the Nabi, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. And just as we invited you and we called you to pay attention to the rights of our elders, pay attention to the rights of the handicapped. And remember, the people who are handicapped with special needs, they are an ayat from the ayat of Allah. The Prophet said, لا تنظروا إلى من هو فوقكم ولكن انظروا إلى من هو دونكم ذلك أجدر أن لا تزدادروا نعمة الله عليكم. Don't look at the people who are above you, but look at the people who are below you, meaning people who have less than you in what it appears. Because if you look at the people who are above you, you won't appreciate what you have. But if you look at the people below you, not that they are lesser than you, but they have less than you. When you do that, you appreciate what you have. And the Nabi taught us, when you see someone and he has a special need, something's wrong, the Nabi told us a dua. When you see that individual, to say, Alhamdulillah, الذي عافاني مما ابتلاه به وفضلني على كثير ممن خلق تفضيلا. All praises are due to Allah, who gave me afiyah, good health, and He raised me above many of His creation. Many of His creation. He gave me health where He didn't give a lot of these people what He has given me. And even the one who has special needs in this society, if he looks at the people with special needs in India, in Pakistan, in Africa, in some of those places, he has a state-of-the-art wheelchair. His wheelchair is state-of-the-art. Those people, they're walking in Mecca on ship. You know those rubber shoes you wear in the shower? Ship. He has them on his knees and on his hand. He's walking like that. That's his life. So everyone has a lot to be thankful for and grateful for. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us and to protect our limbs. And learn that dua that the Nabi used to make. You hear it in Ramadan all the time. When the Nabi used to tell us, and the companions, they said that the Nabi used to teach us this dua like he teaches the Quran. وَمَتِّعْنَا فِي أَسْمَاعِنَا وَأَبْصَارِنَا وَقُوَّاتِنَا مَا أَحْيَيْتَنَا. Oh Allah, protect us and help us to continue to enjoy what you gave us in our hearing, in our sight, in our ability. You're walking down the street today, bam, person get hit by a car. La samah Allah. May Allah not allow it happen. Wheelchair happened over here in Dudley Road a few months ago. Dead. May Allah have mercy upon him and forgive all of them. You walking down there. That guy playing soccer the other day. He fall out, has cardiac arrest. Only Allah knows what's going to happen if he comes out of that. You know, when you have a stroke, you can't move anymore. Is that what his situation is going to be? So just because you feel I'm complete, we're all complete. Today, here today, gone tomorrow. Well today, handicapped tomorrow. So let us use our limbs to make the dhikr of Allah and to do those things in which we'll try to get the rewards from Allah Azza wa Jalla. And He is A'la and A'lam.
Jazakallah khairan, Brother Abu Usamah Hafizullah. Inshallah, I got a question here which is written. Is it allowed for a Muslim to change their name as their present name doesn't have a particular beneficial meaning?
Can a person change his name because his present name doesn't have a particular meaning? If your name that was given to you by your mother or your father has a meaning that goes against the deen, you don't like it, it's a name that doesn't have a meaning, then it is permissible to change your name, as the Prophet used to do that, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The lady came to him and he said, "What's your name?" The lady said, "Asiya, the disobedient one." The Prophet said, "No, your name is Jamila. You're beautiful. Your name is beautiful." So he used to change the name of his companions, but he would not change their father's name, even if the name had kufr and shirk in it. The father's name would be Abdul Shams, Abdul Sakhar. The Nabi wouldn't change the name because he says, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, la'an Allah ala rajul tabarra'a min walidihi. May Allah curse the man who frees himself from his father by saying to his father, "You're not my daddy anymore, you're not my father," or by changing his name and connecting himself to someone else, thus messing up his lineage. So you can't change your father's name even if your father's name is shirk or kufr, because you're the son of that man. As for yourself, yes, you could change your name. You could change your name, inshallah.
Jazakallah khairan. Any more questions from the audience? Go ahead, brother.
The real,
like for example, sometimes I pray namaz and after I go to my job and I have a job like this, ladies working, and I feel embarrassed sometimes that because namaz should be at hijab. I have hijab with ladies, but I have to work with them. But when I come back, I pray namaz and I feel not well because I did perfect law of Islam. But namaz says that you never lie, you never see a lady without hijab like this.
concerning the real salat, The Prophet told us, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wasallam, that a person will make the salat, and after praying, there's a person who will get 90%, 80%, 70%, 60% on down. A person to get 100%. He prayed salat, he had concentration, he had taqwa, he had khushu', he was eating correctly, he wasn't eating haram, he wasn't dressed haram, he was focused, he was concentrating, and his mind didn't wander once, and as a result of that, he'll get all of the prayer. And there's another person who goes to the salat, and he's looking all over the place, and he's not concentrated. He's racing the imam, he doesn't know the mechanics of the salat, so he may get 80, 70, 60, so forth and so on. No doubt about that. Another issue to consider is that Allah Azza wa Jal, He said about the salah, inna salat tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar, that the salat should prevent the people from doing al-fahisha and bad deeds. So if a person is not staying away from al-fahisha, like watching things that are haram, women who are haram, TV or real life, when he has the ability to do it, the person is not staying away from the munkar, smoking cigarettes, things that are haram, whatever they, backbiting, lying, whatever, then the person is not praying the real namaz. He's praying, and he'll be, inshallah, not held accountable for abandoning the prayer. He's praying, but he's not praying the real salat, the real salat. Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. The believers will be successful. Those people who, when they pray, they have al-khushu'. They pray and they're fearful of Allah. They're fearful of Allah. And that's why, Ikhwani, the Nabi described salat, and he said about the salat, inna fi salat l'shughla. Verily this salat is making you busy. When you say Allahu Akbar, and you have to concentrate by looking down and you're reading Al-Fatiha and another surah, you should be concentrating on Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen and all of that. And you have to also know what rakat you're on. You have to take your time, and you have to think about all of the things that you've done. You come across verses of the Quran about Jannah. You ask Allah for those, for the Jannah. You come about verses of a nar. You ask Allah to protect you from the nar. And that's how the Nabi was when he used to pray. Abu Bakr, when the Nabi said, tell Abu Bakr to lead the people in the salat, Aisha said, no, let's get someone else. The Nabi said, get upset. Tell Abu Bakr to lead the people in salat. She said, Ya Rasulullah, when Abu Bakr prays, we can't hear him because he's crying. Umar radiallahu anhu, from the salat, they described him that he had those two lines that were in his cheeks from the salt of his tears. Those people, when they used to pray, they used to pay attention. So before the salat, the Nabi would tell the people, قُومُوا إِلَى النَّارَ الَّتِي أَوْقَدْتُمُوهَا فَاطْفُؤُوهَا. Before you pray, stand up, he says, stand up and extinguish the fire that you made for yourself. From all of the haram that we do. We got a lot of haram, a lot of mistakes. Okay, before the salat, you have an opportunity to douse that fire out with praying correctly. And you get an opportunity to get rid of those sins. The wudu, correct wudu, sins fallen, and then you start making the salat, because the closest that the slave is to Allah is when he's in prostration in the salat. So we have to develop this issue, as he says, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Pray as you see me pray. But akhi, all of you brothers and sisters, don't get it twisted, and don't listen to some of these people who say the prayer, unless it's 100%, it's not accepted. You have to pray it over again. You didn't pray. Don't listen to that. You prayed. You prayed. But your prayer is lacking. It's lacking. The man came and said, Ya Rasulullah, companion just like us. Ya Rasulullah, when I start to pray, I start to think about things that I didn't think about before the prayer. I'm sitting here right now. I'm not thinking about anything. As soon as we get to say, Allahu Akbar, I start saying, hey, where are my keys? Did I leave the keys in the car? I think I left the cooker on, the stove. I think the burner is on. And you start thinking about, he said, that's what happened. The Nabi said, that's a shaitan. His name is Khanzab. He comes to you only for salah. So if he comes to you, turn to the left and spit. And seek refuge in Allah from his wiswas, trying to destroy your prayer. May Allah make us of the Ansar of the Sunnah and the Ashabul Salah.
Abu Usamah's second question is a disability a punishment or an expiation for sins? As some people are born with a disability and some gain it in life.
A disability, ikhwani, it could be a punishment and it could be a expiation, like the hadith that we mentioned, that the believing man and believing woman, they don't cease to have a fitna within themselves, within their children or their money, except when they meet Allah, they won't have any sins. So it's an expiation. Allah mentioned in the Quran, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Verily, we're going to test you in your wealth, in your property, and we're going to test you in your persons, your bodies. We're going to test you in your monies. We're going to test you in all of these things, in the loss of life and in the loss of crops. We're going to test you in all of that. And give glad tidings to those people when they are tested, they say, from Allah we come and to Allah we return. I'm here the way I am. I have a deformity right here. It's not that big, I don't think. Little one. I have a 6th finger. He's growing right there. I got him taken out before. He wants to come back again. Deformity. Allah decreed that. I just have to be patient. I have to look at other people and say, man, this is little. My mother, she called me. She always say, when I see you on the thing, you always that finger. I can't fail to see your finger. Yeah, but what about other people? Other people have serious issues. So in that case, a person is an expiation. But in another case, someone says to his wife who's pregnant, may Allah curse that baby. He gets upset and he says to his wife, the unborn child, the innocent child, I hope you don't have that baby. And he made dua, as the Prophet said, لا تدعوا على أنفسكم ولا على أولادكم ولا على أموالكم فيوافق أحدكم دعاه في الساعة يكون الدعاء مستجابا. Don't make dua against yourselves. Don't make dua against your children. Don't make dua against your property. One of you may make a dua at the time when the dua is answered and then it happens. So now it can be a curse. It can be a curse in that case. May Allah Azza wa Jal don't curse us with these types of issues. But usually it's an imtihan. It's an imtihan either way. Like Ayub, the one who was patient. Ayub. Anyone who has a disability, you know someone and you're responsible, go in the Quran and the Sunnah and read about the story of Prophet Job. Ayub. Salawatullah wassalamuhu alayhi. Now, my man over there got his hand up. Aywa, Ajmal, Abu Ibrahim.
A brother started praying recently. He wants to know that we have to make up for the past prayer that he missed. He's 35, 40 years old. He wants to know you have to make those prayers.
A person, he didn't pray during some time of his life, and now he made tawbah, and he wants to know what's the deal with the previous prayers. What the proofs show us, and what's easy, and what makes sense, and what goes in accordance with the mercy of Allah, and the wisdom and the justice of Allah, is the hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in which he said, Inna awwala ma yuhasabu bihi al-abdu min a'malihi as-salat. فإذا كانت كاملة كتبت كاملة وإذا انتقص منها شيء قال الله تعالى إلى الملائكة انظروا إلى تطوع عبدي فاكملوا بها فريدته وتؤخذ الأعمال على ذلك. Simple hadith. He said the first thing that Allah is going to look into and judge Yawm al-Qiyamah is the salat. If your salat was complete, then it will be written for you complete. And if the salat was deficient, Allah will say to the malaika, look and see if my slave has any tatawwa, nawafil, sunnah, salatul duha, tarawih, tahiyatul masjid when you greet the masjid, salat of al-ishraq, when the sun comes up, al-istikhara, all of those prayers. Look at those prayers and take those prayers and complete what he didn't do. Complete what he didn't do. And all of the deeds will be like that. His zakat, his hajj, all of that will be like that. So that goes to show, number one, Abdullah, you have to try to make as many prayers as possible, especially in Ramadan. It's the month of praying. Because in Ramadan, you're going to pray more. Let your motivation and your incentive in Ramadan and other Ramadan be, okay, yeah, I'm tired, my knees are burning, I'm tired, my feet are hurting. Let your motivation be, but I left off prayer when I was young. So you want to complete them with the tatawwa, with the nawafil. As for the people who tell you, Ya Abdullah, you have to figure out how many prayers you missed. Okay, I stopped praying from, I only start praying from the age of 18. Or I started praying, now I'm 27. So I'm going to take from the time I was 13 or 10 up into this time, go on a computer, figure out all those days, multiply it by 5, and now I got 800,000 prayers to make up. Dad, what are you doing? You're making things difficult for yourself. First of all, that equation, where did you get that from? Allah doesn't want that from you. Make tawbah for what you did or what you didn't do, and then just pray as much as you can possibly pray. And Allah knows best. Let him make tawbah. Allah, forgive me for what I did not praying. And let him make as many prayers as he can possibly make now. Can the jinn possession leave a person disabled and damaged? Allah mentioned about the shaitan in the Quran. And he said about the shaitan in the Quran, وَكَانَ كَيْدُ الشَّيْطَانِ ضَعِيفًا. The plot and the plan of shaitan was weak. He's weak. And shaitan also said in a number of ayahs of the Quran, telling Bani Adam, I didn't have any sultan over you. I don't have any power over you. All I can do is suggest. So although this is the case as established in the Quran, if a person becomes possessed, he's no longer responsible for himself. He's surrendered himself. And yes, he can hurt himself. He can hurt himself. He can throw himself off of a building. He can kill himself. That happened. That happened. I saw that in Keithley. Brother was challenged, took a knife and stabbed his wife, killed her to death. She came outside and she died in the street from our community, Ahlul Hadith, from our community, because the brother had issues. And then he stabbed himself. He stabbed himself and he died. I don't know if you brothers knew that story. When I lived in Keithley, that happened. And I knew that that brother was getting some ruqya and things like that. And he talked to me as well and said that he was possessed. And that's what we thought about him. It could have been mental problems, Allahu Alam, but he hurt himself. He stabbed. No, he killed himself. And when the wife was trying to stop him, he stabbed the wife, but she didn't die. He killed himself, but she didn't die. So yes, a person can definitely be hurt by the jinn. Now, no doubt.